So lately, I have been reading this book. It's called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. And I really like Jay Shetty because he has this monk mindset about how we can look at the world and then also perceive our relationships and our emotions in a monk, in a Zen perspective. So we don't get too sucked into this very judgmental or very narrative mindset. And this topic, I'm currently on the chapter talking about fear. And I personally also have been experiencing fear. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, in my personal opinion, to look at it and even honor it, to give myself an opportunity to manage it and master my fear because I want to grow, I want to learn, I want to make different choices. And so through today's video, I want to share with you my experience along with what I've been learning lately from this book on how to master our fear. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Wei-Jen, and I help people to attract their desired lifestyle and love by expanding awareness, self love, and energy vibration. As we're getting closer to 2023 and 2024 is on the way, I'm a big firm believer that we can always take the action as long as and as soon as we make a conscious decision. And those control and those power that we have to make a choice, to make a new change, right? Can be something very small, such as, I want to lose weight. I want to develop a better, a healthier diet habit. I want to practice be be on time, right? Those like small habits, we have a power fully to make a change as long as we make a conscious decision. Now, there's also other things that we have been wanting to do, but because of the fear is on our way, so sometimes, like me myself, I will get caught up by my fear that led me to um, procrastinate, that I just, completely putting off and then not doing anything. And then, through time passed by, all I've been doing is just to dream or think about it because of the fear. And that is the consequences of letting fear to control my life. Okay, so the topic that I really want to talk about it is that understand the root of our fear to remove those blocks on our way to achieve happiness, joy, love, and then also our desired lifestyle. So why it is so important to understand the root of the fear? Instead of forcing ourselves, forcing our body, our emotion, our intellect to do the things that we're so afraid of, why it is so important to understand the root? Well, I think it is important because when we get to understand the root, what is underneath that fear, right? A lot of time when we understand that, it will help us to remove multiple blocks. And that will also help us to make a different choices in the future when similar or exactly the same situations or same fear comes up again. So we have a better understanding towards ourselves and the more compassion also towards to ourselves as well. And also we are able to be gentle with ourselves. um, if we just force ourselves that, ignore the fear, repress the fear, or against or having some sort of voice or mindset to against our fear, right? I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. Actually, there is no good thing or bad thing. But if you want to have like a long term um, management of how to master our fear in a more substantial way and in a more manageable and healthy way, and even have a better relationship with your fear, right? I think it is crucial to understand the root of the fear. So for many of you may not know, English is my second language. And I started to learn English language um, when I was when I started very, very late, compared to uh, a lot of people, they start to learn their second language or English as their second language when they were a child. And so I started to learn it when I was 20 years old. um, so it was more challenging for me because at that time I was also deciding, I was also going to be tell myself that I was going to be an artist, but not quite sure what kind of artist do I want to become. And so somehow there was a time that I decided in my early 20s, I decided I was going to be an actor. And not only an actor, but also an English actor. Okay, so an actor who speaks English as her second language fluently, without much accent. And that seemed like a huge milestone, a big giant mountain goal for me at that time to achieve. Did I have a fear? Of course I had. Um, and I bump into so many humps here and there, Excuse me. I got so many rejections and frustrations as well. And, there were many times in the moment where I thought, I will never ever be an actor who speak English fluently. Um, during that journey. So, but what am I gonna do about that? I had this giant fear that I'm not going to be successful. I am not going to achieve. And what am I gonna do about that? Right? So I kind of, suck it up and then buckle down and then just force myself to do it. And that was before I started my personal transformation and spiritual awakening journey. So it was very forceful and it wasn't gentle or loving kind to myself at that time at all. Um, and of course, as you can hear, my English maybe for some of you may think that my English is pretty good. And in fact, I do get lots of compliments that people even think that I am a native speaker for English. And so I take it as a compliment, and yet at the same time, I don't take it for granted because I know how hard and how difficult and challenging that journey, for me to walk on that journey and then be judged, by the director, by the audience, also being rejected by strangers, by casting directors because of my language. That that carries a lot of fear, anxiety, and also it took me a lot of courage to be heard, to be seen, to be able to stand in public and then give a public speech in my second language without knowing anybody, and being open to invite audience viewers or casting directors to decide whether or not they want to give me an opportunity to to be in the role they were looking for. So um, all I want to say is that we could choose to force ourselves and repress our fear and just, went straight, do the things that we're supposed to do. But also, I noticed that there are some other times, fear can get us to procrastinate. And fear also can lead us, ended up, we don't do anything in the end. And all we're doing is just dreaming and thinking and wondering, how we can achieve that from here to there. right? And then even maybe look at other people, their achievement, but feel self-pity and sorrow about, we're not able to do that because of fear, because we're lack of this or that resource, right? um, and I think, if we want to be a hero, if we want to be a victor of our life, of our future, if we want to be a better self, if we want to approach this desired lifestyle and have this desired love, have a better relationship with ourselves, a better relationship with others, we need to understand, what are we really fear about. So one thing that I usually now, since I have been on my spiritual awakening journey for several years, when I notice that I have a fear, first of all, it requires awareness. Um, when I am aware, notice that I have a fear, I will meditate about it. And then I will ask myself, what am I really fear about? You know, being, procrastination, or having some resistance to do the things that we're so afraid of doing that, right? It's just the symptom. It's just the surface level that we see the symptom. And a lot of times I see many people, they just put the bandage on those symptoms, the bandage, right? And by forcing themselves and do it, and then repressing it or ignore their fear, and then even judge the fear as a bad and negative thing, consciously or subconsciously. I really want to get into like what is underneath that fear, because many times when we meditate about that, oftentimes I think there is a greater opportunity we can discover, oftentimes the root of the fear is actually a lot of times coming from our childhood. Our parents told us that we're not good enough, or we're good enough, but we need to be better. We need to do more. We need to study harder. We need to work harder, right? Um, compare other people, right? Compare, this external reality. um, so I think oftentimes my fear, speaking about my experience, my fear is coming from my childhood and my relationship with my parents. And of course, certainly there are some like incidents happened in my childhood that really impact and affect my belief system. And also I get to cultivate it. This fear has a negative impact, because I rarely see parents will tell their child that, fear is a good thing. You need to be friends with fear. I'm sure there are parents, they teach their child that, this spiritual healthy mindset. But, speaking about my experience, my parents, they taught me I shouldn't feel that fear. And if I ever felt that fear, I should ignore or repress that, or buckle up, or suck it up, you know. Um, and that is, how I was taught. And in the current society, I have witnessed that, you know, other people, how their relationship between themselves and the fear, a lot of times is also very similar than my relationship with my fear, which is, we have to ignore that, or we have to procrastinate, the things that we're so afraid of. um, and inevitably, as you can imagine, that is going to affect how the voice, how you tell yourself, right? If you're so afraid of doing some certain things, learning new language, or go out and make friends, or interact with strangers, right? If you view this fear as a very negative thing, right, inevitably you're going to tell yourself that you're not good enough, you're not likable, you're not lovable. And you will never be successful, right? You will always fail. There are so many people are way better than you, right? Those voice will inevitably come based on how you view this fear. Now, I want to give us this opportunity to view of fear from a completely different perspective, from a completely different angle. What if fear actually is a good thing for us? What if this fear, sometimes actually is trying to tell us, trying to encourage us to do something that will scare the shit out of us, but we're going to discover something new about ourselves. We're going to discover something new about this world or this environment or about another person or this relationship, right? What if that is fear trying to encourage us to do, right? And I also think that, what if we think about fear is also trying to tell us to stay focused on this one thing we care so much? What if fear is telling us actually we care about these certain things or this person or this matter quite more than what we thought? What if that is a message that the fear actually is telling us how much we really care and how much we should stay focused, right, in order to achieve our goal? Now, there is also another angle that is very interesting that I learned from this book, okay, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, is that, oh, my mind is blinking, um, is that what if fear is actually, you know, telling us that something we should pay attention because we have been ignoring these things, these matters for a while. And now it's time for us that we need to pay closer attention, right? Um, there's also, Jay Shetty also talks about there are two different kinds of fear. There is a useful fear, and then there's also a harmful fear. What he said about what is useful fear, it basically is that if you think about a doctor tells you that you have some sort of disease or illness, that you need to really start to change your diet, right, in order to eliminate or to cure that potential disease, right? And you after you've finished seeing the doctor, you do what the doctor told you, exactly what you needed to do in order to have a healthier diet to cure your disease, right? You go home, you change your diet, and you gave some time, and your disease eventually got cured, right? In this case, that is a useful fear because changing a diet is something that you can control and you can always do once you make up your mind. Once you pay attention, once you are being so mindful about your diet and you follow the instruction of what the doctor told you to do, right? Now, there is also another fear called harmful fear. So harmful fear is, Jay Shetty says that is something that we have no control over the situation, over the whole picture whatsoever, right? For example, worrying about our parents is going to pass away. That is something that we have no control whatsoever, right? People, human being, this is just part of our human being nature that we're gonna die somehow someday, right? So if we keep constantly worrying about something that we have no control over it whatsoever, then that is a harmful fear, right? um, I also want to say this another thing is that fear, if you imagine yourself that there are two roads. One is left road and another one is right road. The left road is you carry this fear with you and then you started to let fear to control your life by, procrastinating the things that you want to do or you should do, right? And, think about the longer you procrastinate, your feeling is not going to be positive, I believe, speaking about like, the logic. You're probably going to feel depressed. You're probably going to feel yourself, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and you are wasting your time because you haven't started to do, the things that you want to do or you're supposed to do. And you eventually feel very overwhelmed because the longer you procrastinate, there is going to be like more things that happened. You probably added up that you need to do. And so you ended up feeling very overwhelmed. And then you started to watch Netflix or have a glass of wine, and then started to binge Netflix, just to numb yourself, hide yourself, or flee from this feeling of overwhelming. And then eventually, maybe at some point, you started to have this resentment and guilt, towards yourself, and then blaming yourself that, you're not good enough and why you can't just, be strong, and then the voice will just go long away, as you can imagine how that spider roll you can put yourself into that position. That is the left road. Now think about the right road. There is a completely opposite choice. So the right road is that, okay, you're aware of this fear. Now the next thing is that, what are you going to do about the fear? You give a meaning, and that meaning to that fear is healthy and positive. So for example, I decide I'm going to give this meaning to this fear, and then the meaning is that this fear is something that is something that encouraged me that I should pay attention. I should pay attention on my health. So I naturally would feel less fear because I pay more attention on my health. I naturally will feel less fear about, my health issue because I pay more attention. And when I pay attention on that, when I gave this meaning to my fear as a warning signals, right? The next thing that my voice and my body, the action that I am about to take, is that I'm going to be really aware and careful about, what are the things that I put into my body, my diet habit, and my sleep habit, my sleeping quality, right? That is a useful fear. And then that is also the right road that we can choose. Now, here is also another crucial point, is that nothing has any meaning unless the meaning we give it. So this also includes fear too. What kind of meaning do we want to give to this fear? And then also keep in mind, this fear is never going to go away until the day or the moment we passed. We lose our consciousness, right? This fear will always will always be with us. Doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are, doesn't matter the gender or social status. I'm pretty sure wealthy people has wealthy people's fear and anxiety too. So it's not that once I make this certain amount of money, or once I own this BMW SUV, or once I become a wealthy people, become part of the wealthy, class, then I don't have this fear. Still, fear will appear in our life. And when it comes to knock our door, I want to invite you to honor it, to welcome it, to invite the fear, to invite the fear coming into our mind, our heart, and ask fear, what do you want from me? What are you trying to tell me? And maybe that is a moment that You may have epiphany that you decide that you want to give a different meaning to this fear and started to cultivate a better relationship with fear. Let the fear motivate you instead of let the fear control you. You can choose to let the fear help you to stay focused, laser focused, or you can choose to let the fear overwhelm you and you started to, flee from the things that you're supposed to do or you're supposed to face. And then also, I think the last crucial point about fear is that, accept fear as it is. Fear is just an emotion. And remember, feeling changes. Feelings change. Fear, and it's the same thing with fear. Fear comes and goes. Sometimes in some scenarios, fear is trying to tell you that you need to do some more research, know what's your right, um, know the information. When you take the action, sometimes it really, really calm down your nervous system. And it really, helps you to release that fear. And that is sometimes, what the fear is trying to tell us. So I hope this video, gives you some insights and wisdom. And then I also hope that, from my experience, you feel inspired by how far I have come. And, I also hope that you see some new like perspective about how to view the fear. Um, why it is so crucial to understand the root of the fear, because I think when we understand the root of our fear, we have a better relationship with ourselves, we have a better relationship with fear, and we also get to choose how to master our fear, to remove the blocks that has been on our way for so many years, consciously or unconsciously. When we try to achieve, to level up our spirit, our emotional intelligence, when we try to, when we're on our way, actually, approach our happiness, joy, love, right? And then when we want to approach our true, authentic self, fear is something that we need to pay attention, and it's something that we need to cultivate a better relationship with it. So that's all I want to share with you. Thank you so much for spending your time watching my video. If you really like my content, feel free to like my video and even leave a comment or even share with someone else, your friends or family, because there are so many people out there, they need to hear this message. And even subscribe my channel. If you want to dive deeper into a personal transformation journey with me, feel free to also book a 30 free coaching session with me to find out whether or not working with me is a right fit for you. I'm here to support you. And then again, I want to thank you for watching my video. And I wish you have a fabulous day. Namaste.